Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm coming on a little late. We're burning the midnight oil tonight, but it can't be helped because more and more information is coming out, more and more tips, more and more leads, more and more witness
Hi,
testimonies,
everybody. Okay, I'm coming on a little.
and we're over the target. We're absolutely over the target, and we have everything. We broke our son's case. Everybody that's been watching knows that we've broke our son's case, and now it's really just getting the prosecution, right? Getting the prosecutors, getting the prosecution, getting it all official, getting it all official, and so that's happening. That's happening, and it always comes from the people you don't expect, right? The people that you don't expect, the people that you think will help, turn out to be like Colin Wetton, could turn out to be like Steven Spitzer, who's Colin Wetton. Well, he is the assistant special agent in charge for the El Paso field office there, El Paso FBI field office there, and Steven Spitzer, the prosecutor, the federal prosecutor for the Western District of Texas. Now he's been removed. He is now an Alpine. So that's a huge, huge demotion because he was the chief of narcotics for the AUSA office there in the Western District of Texas, the prosecutor's office, and he got demoted. That means there's scrutiny going on. That's good news. There's scrutiny going on, and we know that they were working together to give a false narrative to the public about the Walmart mass shooting. We know that they hid the fact that Patrick Crucius's family uh, is the Mayellas. The Mayellas are friends, are very friends of Steven Spitzer. And that Steven Spitzer kept that a secret and let everyone believe that Patrick Crucius just randomly chose El Paso, that he was a white supremacist, that he was, tied to President Trump. And all of that is a lie, because Patrick Crucius's family, the Mayellas, Michael Mayella, is friends with Steven Spitzer, the chief of narcotics for the federal prosecutor's office there. And Michael Mayella was the federal courthouse manager, and his son, of course, in the DA's office and with Walmart cybersecurity, um, and also at the FBI office, right there working with Colin Wetton. Colin Wetton then absolutely knew who Michael Jr. was. It's Michael Gianni Mayella. He's the junior. Um, yeah, they absolutely knew, and they kept it all a secret, and which is so criminal. And of course, that has to do with our son's case because Richard knew about the Walmart mass shooting orchestration. He was reporting on it, and that's why Colin Wetton, there at the FBI, leaked Richard's identity to the cartel, and to very high levels because it was El Mayo's lawyer who went and took a personal interest in Richard, and soon after that, Richard was no longer alive. Well, it set off um, a chain of events, and Richard's no longer alive. So really, Connell Wetton and Steven Spitzer have a lot to answer to, and there's scrutiny going on now because he was removed. So that's good news. So let's go on. Let's start. This is day 1,973 days, 1,973 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room. He was taken to the arms room, which is the basement room in his building, and it's a soundproof room, and that's where they took his life. We've posted the seal on the door. Um, our sources have confirmed that that room was renovated with no limit to the expense, and not using proper protocols. And that was under the direction of General James Eisenhower, Major General James Eisenhower. So uh, after his life was taken, his body was stolen off of Fort Bliss. We know that because of Director of Emergency Services Thomas Kane. He up to no good, totally up to no good. And he's well, we got a letter, and so the cameras, the gates, everything was tampered with. Richard's body was taken and dismembered. We know that through Nadal Baim, the Palestinian arms dealer, who's the father-in-law of Richard's lieutenant colonel in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, Bradford Bugado. And I know this is sometimes hard to follow, but we've been doing this for 5.5 years, and we have a robust mountain of evidence. So says my friend. Oh yeah, that's a robust mountain of evidence, and yeah, absolutely. Um, uh, Bradford Bugado, I'm not joking. G3 of 32nd ADCOM. His father-in-law, Palestinian arms dealer, who is doing contracts with Fort Bliss and with the El Paso Police Department and all of that, all these connections. And of course, we have confirmed that he is absolutely connected to cartel that is connected to the Texas Rangers, cartel that's connected to the chief of police of the El Paso Independent School District that controls the schools that have the tunnels underneath them, and of course Arturo Alba, who is no longer with us because he was executed, and Willie Moya, also connected to Nadal Baim, also no longer with us. Headshot, right? So this, all of these connections um, show because Nadal Beam was caught on CCTV footage, and of course the CID and the FBI told us, he's just nobody until we discovered who he was, which was absolutely a miracle of God, and we called him up, um, and he confirmed that he is that guy. He is that guy. Um, said that Richard's partial remains were found in Mexico by the FBI, and they were looking in 5 different places. Um, and we have that confirmed by the State Department. We have that confirmed by DHS liaison. Um, so, we're not making things up. We're not. What I'm telling you is hard evidence. And all evidence now leads to that Richard's partial remains were dumped because he's probably organ harvested. That's speculation using the evidence that we have, that his body was dumped there at Plenitude Crematorium. So because they were interfering with our filing in Chihuahua, Mexico, when we went over to Juarez and we went to the AG's office there. Our file and our son's case was tampered with, and that is confirmed. That has been confirmed. So that's with Carlos Manuel Salas. That's with Cesar Paneche, the AG for Chihuahua. And Carlos Manuel Salas is the AG for the North Zone, which is Juarez. And um, we know that they were up to no good when it comes to our son's case. And that just tells you what a big, how big this case is. It's so many agencies involved, and it's international, and it involves tampering with the Interpol picture, tampering, right, with all the files in our son's case. Um, so I want to, with the new information that we have received from Cartel, that have confirmed that Colin Wenton was the inside man in the FBI for the cartel. With that information, I really want to revisit Glendon Oakley Jr. Glendon Oakley Jr. has always been, his death has always weighed very, very heavy on my heart because of course he was found not alive in April of 2020, just a couple months before Richard's, them taking his life, and and knowing that Colonel Wenton, this new information that he leaked Richard's identity because Richard was reporting on the Walmart mass shooting, um, which my husband says, why do you call it that? It should be called the Silla Vista mass shooting, or because Glendon Oakley reported that gunshots were in the mall and that he saw a group dressed in black with um, M4s in the mall, And that's why he was so retaliated against. Um, President Trump honored him, but there was a group, and we know that group too well, don't we? That retaliate and threaten and all of that, bully. Uh, and you could tell on August 3rd, 2019, when he appeared on CNN, he was just amazing. He was so brave, and he was reporting exactly what he had experienced and what he saw. And he had did that with grabbing some children to bring them out of harm's way. He was truly heroic. The very next day, on August 4th, 2019, when he's in uniform, and I've posted these videos up, and I really recommend you watching the videos of Glendon Oakley Jr. Less than 24 hours apart, to absolutely see how shaken he is by August 4th, 2019, that the bullies have already started to intimidate him, to target him, to try to discredit him. And, he's brought to tears. This very brave soldier is brought to tears. And it is so heartbreaking to watch what the military allowed to happen to Glendon Oakley Jr. And of course, uh, those facilitators are Colonel Wenton and Steven Spitzer. Um, and so what this shows is a pattern that caused two soldiers to lose their lives in order to protect border activity, open border activity, to try to tamper with the election, the 2020 election, with a false narrative of the Walmart mass shooting being like a white supremacist. That's false. Connection with President Trump. That's false. Not knowing anyone in El Paso. That's false. Their family is the Mayellas, right? And, um, so the whole thing, the lone shooter, that's false, because we have many testimony that there were multiple shooters for the Walmart mass shooting. And, so this was, the Walmart mass shooting was an operation. Clearly, it was an operation and a catalyst to take take the law enforcement off of what Richard was reporting with the trafficking uh, try to, be a distraction from what he was reporting on the border with the trafficking and what President Trump was doing, trying to secure the border at the time. Uh, Clearly, because El Mayo had been arrested, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in July of 2019, and the Walmart mass shooting was August 3rd, 2019. So, this was a huge distraction from Epstein, a huge distraction from El Mayo, from looking into Zorro Ranch, bordering the north part of White Sands Missile Range, um, which is an very secured air space. Um, that you can take planes easily um, through that area if you have a dirty military leadership that wants to participate in the trafficking. Um, so, very clearly, the Walmart mass shooting was a distraction and also a political objective to make President Trump look bad and to interfere with the election. So, and Richard was a witness to that political uh, operation, and that's why Colin Winton um, doxed him, right? Gave his identity to the cartel, and shortly after um, El Mayo's lawyer got involved, uh, Richard was no longer alive. So this is very clear that this was political, that Richard was a witness, to President Trump. And this shows a pattern because Glendon Oakley Jr. is also no longer alive. And he was also a witness to the Walmart mass shooting. So anybody that wanted to give a different narrative um, was targeted, right? Was targeted, and it is not. Um, I even think that Memo Garcia was targeted because he also said that Patrick Crucius wasn't the shooter that shot him. Um, so they wanted to keep this narrative, this fake narrative about the Walmart mass shooting going, and anybody that challenged that was then targeted. Uh, that's really a huge pattern because this is serious crimes, y'all. This is treason. This is there's just so many crimes wrapped up in this that Colin Whitten and Stephen Spitzer could absolutely lose their life, and I think that the death penalty needs to be on the table for it. And now, of course, more information is coming out about the extent that they will go to manipulate politics to stop a direction that might um, be going that is not in the favor of this group. And that in that case, the connection to Charlie Kirk's case comes to mind. There's no doubt that Charlie Kirk's death is a political death, and a lot of questions are begging to be answered, and a lot of people are doing the research and they're finding the answers. They're finding really good answers. And those answers are not the narrative that they're giving us about the Charlie Kirk UVU death. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. I have to be so careful on these podcasts, right? But so that shows you another pattern, that with the Charlie Kirk's case, absolutely the narrative doesn't fit. And the same thing with the Walmart mass shooting, the narrative doesn't fit. And we know by watching the videos, and I have the videos, I've put up the videos of Glendon Oakley Jr., that what he was saying was authentic, that he was authentic. And he was absolutely targeted for that. And we also know, and of course, I'm Richard's mother, that Richard has been a smear campaign has been launched against him. And I would say to the general, General, this is a smear campaign, right? This is absolutely, it's just craziness. Why don't you say, okay, whatever you want to say about my son, but you also have to say the truth, that he was the Distinguished Honor Graduate for basic training and also for AIT for his classes, that he was making rank with waivers, that he was a guidon bearer, that he had clept out of college math, 6 hours of college math and 6 hours of German when he was 15 years old. That he wanted to be CID, that he wanted to be CID. Why don't you say these things? And they would just allow the false narrative to be put out there, the known false narrative, and then the truth, all the truth about Richard. They wouldn't allow that to be shared. And so we knew that something was very, very wrong. And we knew that Richard was whistleblowing because of slips by witnesses that were like trying to bully us, had access to my husband's file and Richard's file and everything. But trying to harass us, but letting things slip while harassing us. So we know for a fact, and of course now it's officially documented, that Richard was in communication with Washington, D.C., and with FBI Houston, with the IG, with the CID, with Child Protective Services, with 911 multiple times with CPS. And that we know that he's a whistleblower, and we now know that he was reporting information about the orchestration of the Walmart mass shooting, and this was why Colin Wenton had to target Richard and give the cartel his identity. So thank you, Laura, for coming on every night. And it's today is St. Stephen's Day. Oh, well, it's a little past now because we're burning the midnight oil, but it was St. Stephen's Day. That is the very first martyr for the truth teller. The first martyr for the truth teller. And it just reminded me of Richard. Of course, it reminded me of Glendon Oakley Jr. And I could never forget Glendon Oakley Jr., just like I can't forget my son. And now with this pattern that connects them even closer together, it really needs to be revisited, and those videos need to be replayed again so that we can see clearly this pattern that this group was engaged in, that was so criminal and so treasonous. because we have to win the hearts and minds of the people. We are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And the people need to get this information, no matter how colluded it is, no matter how complicated it is. They need to get this information. And it's kind of like what Candace Owens is doing. She's giving a lot of information. It can seem overwhelming sometimes, but it's very important that the people get the truth and that they pursue, demand that justice is served. And so it is the will of the people that really matter. The Congress, the senators, the um, other politicians or leaders, um, they they are moved by the people, and so that's why we're here every day, giving you the information so that you could demand justice, and that they have no choice but to do their job, right? They have to be driven to do their job. And that's how we got the Board of Inquiry to look at the evidence. And when they looked at the evidence, they designated Richard as deceased and in the line of duty, murdered on Fort Bliss. Uh, and of course, this is how we got, um, we're very grateful for it, President Trump admitting um, in two letters that Richard is a hero, absolutely a hero, and courageous, and that his name is indelible and deserving of all respect, all honor of the American people, and should never be forgotten. So, because the evidence is overwhelming, and Richard was um, the whistleblower. He was the whistleblower, uh, the inside man there at Fort Bliss. And that's why he was such a threat to these cartel operatives, to this Mormon faction that's tied to the cartel. And don't forget, Colin Winton is one of those. His family has, huge ties to the Chihuahua, Mexico Mormon community there. And it gives him um, well, it makes you understand why he is the inside man for the cartel, right? Absolutely. So thank you. Let me read what Laura has to say. In El Paso, Texas, even school officials and the most respected organizations will try to smear you if you don't align with their ideologies, especially if you're a single mother with children. Yes, absolutely. They always try to exploit women, women with children. The children, look at 500,000 of children were trafficked through Fort Bliss. They called them unaccompanied migrants. I would speculate that they were kidnapped children. That's what I would speculate. But they called them unaccompanied children. So thank you so much, Laura. So tonight, if you can share anything about Glendon Oakley that I've posted up, I think that would be very, very helpful, because the witness testimony that he has is getting to be very, very important to show how Steven Spitzer in the prosecuting office, the federal prosecuting office, um, colluded then against what Glendon Oakley Jr. was witnessing to, along with Colin Winton. And it just really establishes the pattern that they used against Richard. So this is very, very important. So please share all of our information. And I want to say thank you so much for all the sharing that everybody has been doing lately. It has it has really exploded, and it has given us, well, just say a lot more, um, even more so, even more leads and tips coming in. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.